ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवां च श्रीरूपां साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्विताञ्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गुरुं यत्कृपदामहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं जनतारणं परमानन्दमाधवम्। हरे कृष्णा Prabhuji and Mataji, please accept my humble obeisance. This is not a regular Srimad Bhagavatam class, and this is a series of presentations on a topic called Lord Shiva, the story of the great Vaishnava. So this presentation will continue as long as it takes, and it probably the best experience you can have is to access a computer and see the slides. A lot of information is presented in the presentation mode. You don't see me, I'm not on camera, but you see the content. So the Krishna is in the focus and his devotees are in the focus. So this is what this presentation is not. Is that it is not to prove that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Though it is very obvious through the presentations of material that it is not to prove Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, because all of you are devotees and chanting and established in that faith that Krishna is already, his position is already clear to you. And it is also not to present my personal opinions and interpretations, like you expect that this is through Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, scriptural evidences, how the Shat Goswamis, how Krishna's devotees through the ages spoke about this particular topic to alleviate any misconceptions. And it is about a presentation of the details through the lens of Shastra. Many of us think that Krishna is great, but we do not know how great he is. So some of these evidences will present you that who that Krishna is. It is to highlight how various scriptures composed during different times, different places, by different authors, harmoniously speak the same absolute truth. It is quite surprising when we go through these details right next to each other. If you are like me, I struggled in very early stages of my Krishna consciousness to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It took more than 2 years for me, because I grew up with the conceptions in the traditional Hindu system that it is a multipolar, but fact is stranger than fiction. So when we open up Shastra, that cloud of misconceptions will evaporate, and Krishna shines as a sun about the Supreme Absolute Truth. So unless you want to ask questions during this presentation, you please be on mute. And there are a lot of slides. I am not in hurry. And if I am going too fast, you can stop me. And the presentation happens in 7 different subcategories. Of course, the main top, the parental the parent topic is Lord Shiva, the story of a great Vaishnava. But the idea is to present into 7 different topics. Like how the first one is obviously, and Lord Krishna, because anything that will start with Krishna and ends with Krishna. And in this presentation also, we see and we need to understand the position of Krishna and the authority and control of Krishna over all that ever existed. And when we understand through the Shastra, and we understand anybody's position, if we understand the Lord Brahma's position, Lord Shiva's position, the Jiva, insignificant Jiva's position, or anybody, so that we put them in proper perspective to understand the universal administration. And the second topic is Bhakti. Bhakti obviously cannot be separated from Krishna. And how Bhakti is the driving force that created the necessity of not only Jivas, but also the many forms of Krishna, like Srila Rupa Goswami explains in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, the Swayam Rupa, Tadekatma, and Avesha. So the real reason that one supreme absolute truth expanded into many forms is the Bhakti, the driving force. And we need to understand that, but it is not a deep dive, like I keep saying. It is not a deep dive. There is no human being, no Jiva ever existed that can explain these concepts in detail to the completion. Even Lord Ananta, who has unlimited hood, with his countless mouths, sings the glories of Krishna to the unlimited amount of time. Still, he cannot even capture the glories of Krishna, even a fraction of it. So, keeping that in mind, that I'm going to bring the most essential topics so that we understand the Lord Shiva's position. Why, what happened, right? So first we understand Lord Krishna's position, then the bhakti that is driving whatever is happening in spiritual world and material world, and third is the failover, and who fails the test of bhakti to comply the rules, and those non-compliant living entities thrown into a completely locked environment called sadhana, the material world. And that failover, that non-compliance and the rebellious nature of the living entities against the will of Supreme created the universal material administration where Lord Shiva's position has become necessity. That is the impetus. And then we will understand who the Lord Shiva, how he appeared from Krishna, and what is his position from various scriptural perspective. And the next topic would be Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna, how they had loving exchanges between both of them. And then there are many different followers of Lord Shiva. How through those interactions between Lord Shiva and his followers, what the Shastras teach us. And of course, the last one is his own parampara. And Lord Shiva, Rudra parampara, how they teach the glories of Lord Krishna. So all these put together, it will clarify that whether wherever we are coming from, it speaks the same truth. It is the egoistic conceptions and the sense gratification that the living entities, they distorted the truth and they presented the material to fit into their own agendas. Okay? So today probably I may not be able to complete even the first topic, but we will do as much as we can. And I am keeping my timer. It first starts with Lord Krishna, his position and authority. So there was one time when Srila Prabhupada was studying so deep into the scriptures, and he was there was one mantra that can solve all the problems of this material world. And his friend got excited and he asked, what is it? And Srila Prabhupada replied, Runadapi Sunichena, Taroriva Saishnuna Amanena Manadena Ketaniya Salahari. So that fixated. He planned backwards, he worked backwards. In order to give that mercy, he constituted International Society of Krishna Consciousness. In other words, it is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, by whose mercy we understand who Krishna is as he is, and what bhakti is, how to please Lord Krishna. And not only that, we understand about Lord Shiva also. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions to his disciples, especially the Shat Goswamis and the 6 Goswamis, composed the Sandarbhas, the Sat Sandarbhas, 6 Sandarbhas, that exhaustively dealt with the details of it. So whatever misconceptions we have, like, thinking that Krishna is the 8th incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu is supreme, and Krishna is an expansion of Krishna. Krishna is an expansion of Vishnu, or Krishna or Vishnu is a subservient of Lord Shiva. All these conceptions, the Goswamis dealt in detail with so much of information, especially from Gopal Bhatt Goswami and his notes. Jiva Goswami, in his Krishna Sandarbha, he explains these details. How, after being instructed by Lord Chaitanya, the Gopal Bhatt Goswami and Jiva Goswami worked together to present the scriptural evidence about what the ultimate absolute truth is. This is a bold statement, ladies and gentlemen, Prabhujis and Matajis, and welcome to Krishna Consciousness. Krishna is the original source and only one existed originally. And because to have a loving exchange, he needs another living entity. Though Krishna is Atma Ram, he doesn't need anybody else. But for loving exchanges, for that prema or bhakti or prema bhakti, he created so many other forms. Just like my Guru Maharaj told a story that imagine yourself as the only living entity that is living on this planet Earth. And you are the owner of all the seas, all the land, sky, water, everything. You own everything. But there is nobody else. You are all alone. Absolutely all alone. And after many, many, many years, a bird flies and comes closer to you. And at that moment, you are so lonely that you want to give everything that you have to that little bird to have that exchange. This is Bhakti Prabhuji. In order to have that loving exchange, because the soul continuously seeks the pleasure, Krishna expanded himself into many different forms. And we see that through these evidences. So the first one comes from Sri Piplayana in his explanations to King Nimi from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 3rd chapter, 36. Naitanmano vishati vaguta chakshuratma pranendriyani cha yada nalamitchisha swaha shabdo api bodhakani shedhatayatma mola mardotmamaha yadrutena nishedasiddhaha. Neither the mind, nor the faculties of speech, sight, intelligence, the life air, or any of these senses are capable of penetrating that supreme truth any more than small sparks can affect the original fire from which they are generated. Not even the authoritative language of the Vedas can perfectly describe the supreme truth. Since the Vedas themselves disclaim the possibility that the truth can be expressed by words, but through indirect reference, the Vedic sound does serve as evidence of supreme truth, since without the existence of that supreme truth, the various restrictions found in the Vedas would have no ultimate purpose. Very profound conversation between two people in earlier yugas that describe that even Vedas cannot describe about Krishna. And if we meditate on each one of these verses, so the deeper we go and the deeper we delve into the greatness of Krishna, we understand how great he is. Srila Prabhupada explained that this one verse is worth 5 billion years of human research. And Lord Brahma himself did 100 years of his time, tapasya, and explained this. And this is fortunately available only to Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And it summarizes to greater extent. And there are other verses you see in next slides that collaborate what Lord Brahma is speaking here. So that Sarva Karana Karanam. There is a sannyasi explained about this verse, and he said that there is that Sarva Karana Karanam is not used anywhere else, referring to any other God or form of God or demigod. So this particular verse is so significant, and that depends on your degree of faith. It reveals or it generates further faith into the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here Krishna himself, he is explaining that. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the Supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only, undiluted among men, is freed from all sins. So, like I explained in the beginning, that the people who are very rebellious and did not accept the supreme authority of Krishna, that we see on every day-to-day business in this material world. So when they want to go away from Krishna, so he created this unimaginably complex universes, a constellation of universes, and which is completely locked. And the point of entry into this locked, miserable material world is disobeying the order of Supreme, which is Krishna. And the only way to get out is obeying his authority. So we rejected bhakti to Krishna and fell into this world. And the only way to get out is accepting bhakti and accepting his authority. So the only person who can take us out from this material world is Krishna. That we see in next slides. Krishna says here in Bhagavad Gita 10:8, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So here the key word, Prabhuji and Mataji, is devotional service. So slowly and steadily I will be introducing that why bhakti, right? So of course Krishna is the object of that bhakti, but we cannot separate bhakti from Krishna or Krishna from bhakti. So here Krishna himself is explaining, Aham sarvasya prabho matta sarvam pravattate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanyataha. He is the source of all spiritual and material worlds. And he is speaking in singular terms. Right? I, aham, first tense. Right? So when Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, we have to understand that all the demigods, including Lord Shiva, were present in the battlefield and are witnessing what Krishna is saying. And there nobody questioned the authenticity of what Krishna is explaining. The same way, when the Samik Rishi's messengers went to Maharaj Parikshit and explained that his guru's son, 7-year-old son, Sringi, cursed him to die in 7 days. And Parikshit Maharaj immediately realized that he has only 7 days to live, even though he has the power to curse him back. But he decided to follow the principle of humility. So the Acharyas explains that the mood of Parikshit Maharaj at that point in time is he was completely detached and put a gamsa around his waist and walked out. And because of his detachment to material things and his attachment to Krishna and his devotees, and his only desire is to hear the glories of Krishna, And what did Krishna arrange? An interplanetary Vaishnava Sadhu Sangha on the banks of Ganga. So the devotees that were present on that bank of Ganga to be with Parikshit Maharaj were not just from this particular planet. They are from all over. Narada Muni do not live on earthly planet. The rishis, sages, they came from higher planetary systems. So it is an international, interplanetary congregation of devotees, and in that congregation, Sukadeva Goswami was telling the supreme absolute position of Krishna, and nobody was questioning. And in the audience were Narada Muni and Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva composed all the Vedic literature. And his last work is Srimad Bhagavatam. And Vyasadeva know what he wrote in the earlier divisions of Vedas. And he was not disputing when Sukadeva Goswami was explaining the Paribhasha Sutra, that Krishna is the source of all incarnations. So here in this verse, again, Pipalayana is coming into play. And he is explaining that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of the creation. Again, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of creation, maintenance, and destruction. So, sometimes we hear there are some envious people who have built websites, published books, and give so many lectures, and you will find so many videos on YouTube and other places that tries to mutilate that truth, that whatever the scriptures are saying, and twist that truth to project that the so and so person is created, maintains, and finally destroys this. But here, the Shastra explains the opposite of it. He means the Supreme Personality of Godhead pervades the various states of wakefulness, dreaming, and unconscious deep sleep, and also exists beyond them. By entering the body of every living being as the super soul, he enlivens the body, senses, life airs, and mental activities. And thus all the subtle and gross organs of the body begin their functions. My dear king, know that personality of Godhead to be the supreme. Again, here Krishna himself is explaining in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is one of the Chatuslokis, very profound. So Krishna taught this entire Srimad Bhagavatam in just 4 slokas. And this is the first sloka. Ahamevasam nanyad yat sadasat param pachadaham yedetaccha yo avasishyeta so asam yaham. Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead, and after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. So we need to understand very clearly with a singular focus that it is Krishna who existed originally, and he is the only one. This is Jiva Goswami in his Krishna Sandarbha. He calls this as a Paribhasa Sutra. And very important, from this he strings all other explanations. When Sota Goswami explained this to the sages of Naimisharanya, when he was explaining the expansion and various different types of avatars. So he explained all those, and suddenly he stopped for a moment and he said, Yete samsam kala pumstos Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Radayanti Yuge Yuge. All the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the theists. If you are a big fan of Srila Rupa Goswami, and Srila Rupa Goswami has written a book called Sri Lagu Bhagavatamrita. And in that scripture, because he is our Goswami, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas treat that book as a scripture. So in that Lagu Bhagavatamrita, Rupa Goswami explains the incarnations of Krishna so scientifically, so methodically, and so supported by all the scriptures from different parts of the Vedic literature. And he again and again comes to this verse. Because whatever Srimad Bhagavatam explained, it is spotless Purana, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Amalam Puranam. So Srila Prabhupada, while introducing Krishna consciousness to atheists, almost everybody, he said we should train our consciousness to understand this material cosmos and its functioning through the eyes of Shastra, Shastra Chakshu. So we have to understand all these things through these verses. Then we understand who Krishna and how the whole things work. So here Arjuna, who is a very close friend, and Srila Prabhupada said, of all the Pandavas, it is Mata Kunti and Arjuna are the eternal associates and the pure devotees of Krishna. And when Mata Kunti says something, when Arjuna says something, and we have to take that as if it is coming from Krishna, because they don't speak anything which is untrue. And here is one of them. All the hosts of demigods are surrendering before you and entering into you. Some of them, very much afraid, are offering prayers with folded hands. Hosts of great sages and perfected beings, Siddhas, trying all peace, are praying to you by singing the Vedic hymns. So Arjuna is a direct witness. And Krishna showed his Virat Roop that he has not shown to anybody else before that. So it is explained to the devotees that during his 125 years of pastime on this planet 5,000 years ago, Krishna demonstrated his Virat Roop at 5 different levels, at 5 different times. But of all those 5 instances, the one that he showed to Arjuna was never displayed before. And that was the full Virat Roop. And Srila Prabhupada said that was material. And it shows and includes all the demigods within him. And everybody was obeying his order. And that you see in next verses. So here we start introducing Lord Shiva's as what is his relevance with respect to Krishna. Again, this is Arjuna who is telling to Krishna after he saw the Virat Roop. All the various manifestations of Lord Shiva, Rudra. There are Ekadashi Rudras, 11 Rudras. And all of them, along with the Adityas, Vasus, Sadhyas, Vishwadevatas, the Svis, Maruts, the forefathers, the Gandharvas, Yakshas, Asuras, and the perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder. So all of them are witness. When Krishna is speaking Bhagavad Gita, when he was displaying his Virat Roop, because they are directly serving Krishna in this material universal administration, they become part of that Virat Roop. And nobody is disputing what Krishna is saying there. And Arjuna is a direct witness. And here Arjuna is certifying that Rudra is part and parcel of Krishna as part of this material administration. And here comes Lord Kapila, one of his Krishna's expansions, that how great Krishna is. Out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the wind blows. Out of fear of him, the sun shines. Out of fear of him, the rain pours forth the showers. And out of fear of him, the host of heavenly bodies shed their luster. Profound realizations or instructions in a private conversation when his mother surrendered to him. And Kapil Dev was explaining the mechanics of material aspects and then slowly educating her to spiritual science. That Krishna is not our next door neighbor. Like that famous saying that, so after Chicago speech on his way, somebody asked, who is this? I'm not getting his name. Brain freeze. So when he was asked what is his opinion about Krishna, so he replied that Krishna is a great politician. Who is that? He is a disciple of Paramams, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Math.
Vivekananda.
Vivekananda, yeah, Vivekananda. So, Vivekananda replied that Krishna is a great politician. But here comes Kapila Dev. He is explaining that quite opposite. Prabhuji, can you go on mute, please? Whoever is unmuted.
Muting.
Okay, so the next verse, again, Kapil Dev to his mother Devavati. Out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the trees, creepers, herbs, and seasonal plants and flowers blossom and fructify, each in its own season. Actually, while going through this literature and collecting material, I went through some websites where the others were so abusive, using abusive language to portray that Vishnu or Krishna is a subservient of Lord Shiva. So it was a little bit disturbing, but when you fall back onto the source of truth, which is the Vedic literature, you find completely opposite. So we cannot be emotional. We have to be rational. We have to understand from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra perspective. So here Lord Kapila Dev is explaining the greatness of Krishna and how powerful he is and how much he controls everything. Though sometimes when we see things are happening haphazardly, it appears to be driven by some random things, but we need to understand Krishna is inside out and outside in. And he controls everything without his will. Nothing happens. And everybody, including Lord Shiva, follows his instructions all the time. So the Swamsa expansions, originally, as Rupa Goswami explains in Sri Laghu Bhagavatamrita, the personal expansions of Krishna, which are Swamsa, like Lord Vamanadev, Narayan, Aniruddha, all those, Lord Ramchandra, Narsingadev, all these expansions of Krishna, they do not have their personal agenda. So one of the characteristics of those expansions is there is only one, to implement what Krishna wants, to please Krishna, nothing else. So whatever Krishna derived, whatever Krishna desired, whatever Krishna wants to accomplish with that particular expansion, that is the only thing they do. So when Lord Ramchandra was supposed to incarnate, he usually comes in Treta Yuga. But when Krishna wants to come, the Treta Yuga and Dwapara Yuga flips. And one of the reasons the Treta Yuga comes, the Treta Yuga means the third Yuga becomes the second Yuga, and Dvi, which is supposed to be second Yuga in the 4 Yuga cycle, becomes the third one. So they flip to their position. And the reason why is because there are certain things that only Lord Krishna can say. Nobody else. Even though Lord Ramchandra and there are many other incarnations, they are as powerful and non-different from Krishna, but there is some whatever Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita is only Krishna can say those things. And he's a supreme absolute position. And his description that he can be pleased only by bhakti, and especially by pleasing his devotees. Yeah, a conditioned living entity can please him. Those are the things that nobody else can say those things. Again, this is one more thus. Subject to the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sky allows outer space to accommodate all the various planets which hold innumerable living entities. The total universal body expands with its 7 coverings under his supreme control. So when Al-Qaeda was not existing, when all these terrorist demons were not existing, and in good olden days, and especially in South India, the fight was happening, the battles were happening, the wars were happening between Vaishnavas and Avaishnavas, especially the followers of Lord Shiva. Especially during the time of Ramanujacharya, especially in Tamil Nadu, if you study the history, it is explained how the king was making an attempt to kill Ramanujacharya and force him to sign that Lord Vishnu is a subservient of Lord Shiva. And the king wants Ramanujacharya to sign the document declaring Lord Shiva is supreme and superior to Lord Vishnu. So they were doing all these things. So the point is that the conflict always happens. Now it is between between religion and religion, country and country. But when these things doesn't exist, so it is within the same religion, one faction, one system of faith is fighting with another system of faith. But the Shastra speaks completely opposite of that. Here comes Lord Kapila. He was explaining those things. And here comes Krishna. He is speaking to Arjun that it is Prakritim Swamavastabhya Visrujami Punah Punah Bhota Gramamimam Krutsnamavasam Prakritervashat. The whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. Under my will, it is annihilated at the end. So very direct, first tense. That, and Lord Shiva was listening to all these things when Krishna is saying, and he is not disputing. Nobody else. Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, the Devatas, Maruts, Vidyadharas, Gandharvas, Kinnaras, Chimpurishas. Everybody was listening when Krishna was saying these things, and nobody was raising even their little finger or any doubt about this. So this is one famous, very popular verse. Maya Jachena Prakrite Suyate Sacharacharam Etu Nanena Kaunteya Jagat Vipattate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, not anybody else's direction. So everybody, including Lord Shiva, follows Krishna's direction. O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings, under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So this is another thing that Krishna again he explains in his Bhagavad Gita, the opulences of the Supreme chapter, that by me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And probably I will take 2 or 3 more slides and stop for today and take questions after that. I think I am hitting my time frame. Yeah. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself, he is the very source of creation. See, Prabhuji, just this one. So this myself is the very source of creation. That simply blows up all other atheistic explanations that go against Krishna's supreme absolute position. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. Then one more verse. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme Lord of all that be. So again, when he says, Bhota Maheshwaram, and he himself is explaining that even though Krishna is a supreme humble person, but he is saying, but he wants us to understand that we do not have any confusion over that. It is okay for him if we don't directly worship him as Krishna, but worship somebody else. It is okay with him. Like Srila Prabhupada said, if you go and walk into a shopping mall, there will be many shops, and there will be a jewelry shop with diamonds. But how many people will be there in that is a jewelry shop? So it is okay. So Krishna consciousness is like that diamond jewelry shop. Not many people will be there, and we can choose. But that does not mean that we can dispute the supreme absolute position, as it is shown here and again. So I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of the knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, the Sama, and the Yajurvedas. I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, the basis of everything, and the resting place and eternal seed. So Lord Shiva, who helps Krishna in destroying, Krishna invests his time energy into Lord Shiva, and using that energy, he does whatever he was doing. But we cannot declare Lord Shiva is independent of Krishna. That is a profound statement. So this is Krishna says again, I am the only enjoyer. The more we advance in spiritual life, the more deeper our sadhana goes, and we come to the understanding that so it is very easy to please Krishna than pleasing our own family members. And because we are under ignorance, We spend all our energy and time to please the object of our senses, which is in the form of Maya, and do not pay attention to Krishna. But the truth is that Krishna is the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. This is another very profound statement. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as per strung on my thread. So here Lord Shiva is saying that person whose body is the color of a dark cloud, whose career is the king of gods, Garuda, and who is lying on Anantashesha, the 1,000-headed serpent, that Lord Vishnu, whose glories have no limit, I am always worshipping. Coming from Padma Purana. So this is Shankaracharya, who is an extension of Lord Shiva. Coming from Gita Mahatmya, there need to be only one scripture. Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam, Eko Devo Devaki Putra Yeva, Eko Mantra Tasya Namani Yani, Karmapi Ekam Tasya Devasya Seva. There needs to be only one holy scripture, the divine Gita, sung by Lord Krishna, the only one worshipable Lord, Lord Sri Krishna. Only one mantra, his holy names, and only one duty, devotional service unto the supreme worshipable Lord Sri Krishna. So this is one of the very popular verse from Vishnu Purana, that Krishna possesses all these 6 opulences full. Krishna is the only one who possesses those. That puts him into that situation. So I want to stop here, Prabhuji and Mataji, with this verse, where Lord Krishna, after speaking Bhagavad Gita, he stayed 4 months in Hastinapur to pacify King Yudhishthira. And then he went to Dwaraka, and Krishna and Uddhava had some conversation, and Uddhava wants to listen the same Bhagavad Gita again from Krishna, and that is popularly called as Uddhava Gita. In that Uddhava Gita, after hearing to Krishna, the same way Arjuna spoke to Krishna after seeing Virat Rup, and Uddhava similarly, after listening the descriptions from Krishna, he spoke in glory of Krishna. And we see the very similarities. The beauty of this is the harmonious descriptions of the same fact through various scriptures. So one is Bhagavad Gita and another is Srimad Bhagavatam. And one is Brahma Samhita and Srimad Bhagavatam and Puranas, Upanishads. All those things, right? So here Uddhava says, from you alone the knowledge of the living beings arises, and by your potency that knowledge is stolen away. Indeed, no one but yourself can understand the real nature of your illusory potency. Okay? So I will stop here, Prabhuji and Mataji, and try to take any questions you may have. Hare Krishna. Why during Ramanujacharya, when there was a dispute between Vaishnava and Shaivas, Vedas are not referred? Vedas are referred. It is not that Ramanujacharya was not explaining. So Vedas are referred. But the Shaivas were not willing to listen and accept. To the fact that the Tirumala Tirupati deity, the Shaivas were so much emotionally explaining, not rationally, that the Balaji was in fact the Murti, he is Lord Shiva. And Ramanujacharya has to interfere into that. And it was a very big pastime. Finally, he demonstrated it was not Lord Shiva, it was Vishnu, Krishna or Balaji. So there are a lot of such stories. So just like, in United States, almost half of the country didn't think that Trump won the 2020 presidential election, and half of the country thinks that Joe Biden won the election. It is not that facts are not available. It is everywhere. You just log into internet, you see. You switch on your TV, you see. The facts are everywhere. But it is our egoistic conditioning that we want to hear only what we like to hear. That is the nature of the conditioned soul. So, but somebody who is trying to liberate from that, they want to hear the truth. So during the time of Mahabharata, so when the Pandavas were sent to Varanavrat and Kauravas were, especially Duryodhana was trying to kill Pandavas, and that came to the notice of the Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra called Vidura and asked him that, what do people think, oh Vidura? Am I part of this conspiracy to kill the Pandavas? Would you please tell me what people are thinking about me? And Vidura replies to his king that सत्य के बात में सत्य ये है कि महाराज उसे कोई छुपा नहीं सकता. So the Krishna is like the sun, that a cloud cannot hide it. He is like a fire. But people who are covered by the darkness, they don't want to see towards the sun. So Ramanujacharya eventually, through his pastimes, so he again and again, he demonstrated how Narayan, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Lord Shiva, he is part and parcel of Narayan. But people who are followers of Lord Shiva, they study scriptures in the lower modes of material nature. As we know, the whole Vedic literature is split between three gunas. And intentionally, in those part of the scriptures which are in mode of ignorance, where Lord Shiva was glorified as God, it was done intentionally to establish of the faith of those demoniac people who are the ghosts and goblins. You cannot teach them Bhagavad Gita and Bhakti to them. So these are the people who are at the lowest level of consciousness. So for them to come to the next level, so the scriptures explains that yes, you first worship Lord Shiva as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when you grow, and then you come to the mode of passion, and then you worship the Devatas. And then you come to the position of worshipping Vishnu. So the Sanskrit word Bhagavan has been used liberally, and that caused so much of confusion that many people think that Indra is God, Ganesha is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as if that Ganesha created this universe, and from the novel of Ganesha, Brahma rose, and he maintains, Ganesha maintains this universe, and he eventually Ganesha destroys. That is complete nonsense. So, because of their duties and responsibilities, they perform, Ganesha, Lord Shiva, Indra, all these, they perform superhuman services to please Krishna in this material administration. But that does not mean that they have become either equal to or greater than Krishna. So through these presentations today, we have seen how Lord Kapila was explaining to his mother that all these demigods, they tremble at the sight of Krishna. If Krishna raises his eyebrow, he does not even to do anything. If he raises his eyebrow, all these demigods are gone in a split second. So what to think of these followers and arrogant? So I hope I answered your question, Prabhuji. It was not that Ramanujacharya was not explaining. He was explaining. He was explaining through various pastimes. various pastimes, wonderful pastimes, all the way from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. He was demonstrating how Narayan or Vishnu, Ranganad, how they are supreme. But people are not willing to listen.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhuji. I understood the answer. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
These two people, if you are preaching to somebody, you understand this. That how do we identify a conditioned living entity? He is a conditioned living entity. Want to hear what he or she likes to hear. They are not interested in hearing the truth. They want to hear what they like to hear. So there was one Mataji that used to come to my programs 15 years ago. She used to ask the same question at a regular interval again and again. And I give the same answer, but she asked again and again. Then after getting that question third time, I said, Mataji, it is not that I am not giving you the answer. It is not that you don't know the answer, but you want the answer that you want to hear from my mouth. That will not happen. So, there is no point in asking this question over and over again. So that is the nature. So people likes to see what they like to see, not what is actually existing. But the Shastra, which is the word of Vishnu, is absolute. The Shastra is not spoken for my purpose or your purpose or anybody's. It is for everybody's purpose because it is universal. It is absolute. It was spoken on absolute platform, and it speaks truth and nothing but the truth. But how many people are willing to accept that? That's the reason Prabhupada said, Bhagavad Gita has 700 slokas. You either accept all 700 slokas or you do not accept in any of them. So it is not like you can accept only 10 slokas and reject everything else. That will not work. Okay. Any other questions, Prabhuji and Mother?
There are a few more messages, Prabhu, in the chat window.
So in the next topics, I will probably be presenting that Lord Shiva, actually, there are multiple things. There is something called Lord Sadasiva, who is a personal expansion of Krishna, expansion of Krishna, but he is a Swamsa, just like Vishnu. Even though Lord Shiva is an expansion of Lord Mahavishnu or Narayan, so he is non-different from Narayan. So he is Sadashiva. He has a Vaikuntha planet, as explained in Brahma Samhita. That Sadashiva always meditates on Sankarshan. So he is non-different from Krishna because he is a personal expansion of Krishna. And when Lord Vishnu wants to create this material world, so the Pradhana was already cast. He has to inject the jivas. At that time, he uses this Sadashiva's energy in the form of a glance. So that particular pastime, the Sadashiva has a service to Krishna. So that glance coming from the eyes of Mahavishnu is actually called Shambhu. That is the second role that Lord Shiva plays. So that we will see in future slides. That is the second step. Third is Lord Shiva himself in this material universe. So there is one Lord Shiva in every universe. Means if there are innumerable universes, in every universe there is one Lord Shiva. And the fourth one that we know that in every universe, there are Ekadashi Rudras. There are 11 of them. And those Ekadashi Rudras, their sole purpose is to take part and eventually annihilation for, pralaya. During that time, they have a service to Krishna. So those 4 things we will see in future slides, but I hope I answered your question. This is a little bit ahead of the topic. So each Brahmanda, I am supposing when you say Brahmanda means each material universe, the one that we live with the 14 planetary systems, there is one Lord Shiva, and similarly there are so many millions and millions and millions of universes, material universes, and in each universe there is one Lord Shiva.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one more thing, just wanted to ask, in those who follow the Advaita philosophy, they have a very strong statement saying that in Vedas, it is mentioned that those who differentiate between Lord Shiva and Vishnu, it's a biggest sin. So is it true, Prabhuji?
Again, Srila Prabhupada explained that if you go to medical school, in medical school they teach you that medical science is all encompassing, and if you go to engineering school, they say it is all encompassing. So, but the reason Advaita, Dvaita, Visishta Advaita, all these different types of philosophies, every philosophy exists to describe their own supremacy. But who are guiding those philosophies, right? Again, it is a deeper topic, Prabhuji. They, in order to advance their non-dual philosophy, they come up with this, that if you differentiate, you will incur sin. But at the same time, in bhakti, which Krishna directly preaches as a Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself says that if you equate anybody, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, with Lord Vishnu or Krishna, that is an offense. So who do I trust? Do I trust Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is non-different from Krishna, or do I trust these people who have selfish motives? That is a choice, probably. So, another thing that I understood during my studies, that the Vedas are written in only one language, which is Devanagari. And almost 18 years ago, I was attending a seminar in New Vrindavan, where the seminar is presented by a devotee, and he did a PhD on these scriptures, and he was explaining that we can take one sloka from Srimad Bhagavatam and translate that as per the exact meaning of the words in 80 different ways, and each translation is completely opposite to the other. Each translation exactly follows the grammar, meaning, dictionary meanings, but the translation of that sloka, every translation is completely conveys the complete opposite meaning of the previous one. So that way, the Sanskrit literature is very tricky, Prabhuji. That is the reason why we need a guru to guide us on the right path. So, and Krishna says that there are only 4 paramparas. And anything outside that, Krishna do not recognize. So all 4 paramparas teach us the same absolute truth. Those who are outside this, like you are saying, Advaita, which falls outside, and which is an apasampradaya, and they can do whatever they like, eventually they can never get out of this material world. Like I said in the beginning, the reason why we fell into this material world is because we disobeyed the Supreme. And the only reason we will go back is by obeying. And Krishna giving instructions very clearly that if you want to prove that you want to obey, these are the things you do.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
I know it is a working day for many of you, Prabhuji, and it is true with me. But if anybody else would like to ask questions, I will stay here for 3 more minutes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. I think, it's wonderful to get to different perception than Bhagavatam, plain Bhagavatam class. So, Prabhu, this series, how many classes do you think it will go, Prabhu? Like, how many sessions you think it will?
Minimum 7, Prabhuji.
7, minimum 7. Okay. Depending on how it proceeds.
Minimum 7. Yeah, minimum 7. But I want to thread the theme that, first I want to establish that Krishna is not only great, but he is the great.
Yeah.
So there is nobody who is equal to Krishna or greater than Krishna. That means including Lord Shiva. So that is my purpose of first to explaining the position and authority of Krishna. And then the glory of Bhakti. Bhakti means just like chastity exists only between a husband and wife, not between any other relationships. It exists only between husband and wife, chastity. Similarly, Bhakti exists only between Krishna and his living entities. So we cannot say, I am. We cannot say I am Hanuman. I am this person's devotee and this devotee. That is all nonsense. So Bhakti, just like Rupa Goswami explained in Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu, Bhakti, in its original purpose, it is between Krishna and the living entity, the Jiva. That is the next one. But as I said, the greatest source of this information about Lord Shiva and Krishna and his devotees comes from the Sandarbhas, the 6 Sandarbhas that the Goswamis have composed, and primarily the Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami. To some extent, Sanatana Goswami as well. Thank you very much, Hari.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much,
Prabhupada.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pranam.
Dandavat pranam, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I'm stopping recording here. So, the session.